Alright, what's going on everybody? LK here, new patch day. So even though I'm not home, it is very early in the morning and I am gonna go through the character changes. So not all the changes, just the character changes right now to show you what they actually look like, because as you know, the patch notes sometimes are not that specific. So I'll go through one character at a time. I'll try to add a little bit of my thoughts as I show off the changes one by one. So enjoy. Now the best way to show the 5H change, I think there's a couple of ways. So one is just the distance that it reaches now. So before, I'm pretty sure that 5H would not have reached from round start, so the range is much better. And then 2 was just that, right? So despite being pushed really far, he still gets to connect the 5H. Again, this was like a really big problem. Now I feel like you probably would have to use IBFD, which is more difficult for sure. It's not something that absolutely everybody is doing, where if you had a lot of soul experience, you would know to use a lot of FD against him. So for sure, the 6S not launching on counter hit is definitely a big deal, but I sort of think 5H looks really juiced right now. That being said, 5H does not advantage where 6S kind of does, so I just feel like he's able to play in a little bit further of a range than he used to be able to. So now you have the threat of advancing with 6S, and you have 5H as well. His new Gunflame looks only a little bit faster. I don't think it's like that much faster, it just looks like a pinch. So for Kai, I was told that 5H there after Far Slash used to whiff a lot, so that should help with confirming a little bit. You might have known before, and then especially now too with the 5H change, that it's pretty common for Soul to be able to get Far Slash 5H, especially now, right? Where Kyle, to be honest, for a while, I could not tell the difference between his 5H and 6H. The main one that I knew was that he's probably not using 5H, so it's probably 6H type thing. So this thing's pretty good. The Food Arc one is a little bit hard to see, so it's just a decreased pushback on hit only. And then last, we have the Sacred Edge buff during Shock State. It is very advantageous now. And during Dragon Install, you don't even need Shock State to do it, you could just do it. To me, I feel like the Sacred Edge Guard Crush is kind of like a guess for game type of thing, because it's pretty expensive. It is 50 meter. That's why I was kind of like, wow, does he actually need this type of thing? Like, what does this do? But on the other hand, the Kyle power creep might be a thing in the future, so we'll see. So next May, so here's her new jump. Here's her new jump and her new dash jump. So remember, it's specifically the forward distance. It was a little bit shorter. It doesn't look that much further, like drastically further to me, like the way, say, moves like Soul's 5H kind of are. But you can definitely notice it if you checked last patch. So for 3K, they made it recover a little bit faster and it's more active. I wasn't able to get close slash from like mid screen. I don't really think they do 3K knockdown in the corner, not that I've ever seen. This just looks like it just makes it easier to media though, because there were definitely some cases where it was a little far and it always felt like I could move away from it. So then we have this change. Now this activates the medium counter hit effect. I guess before it didn't activate counter hit, which would be a very weird exception, so I don't think this is a bad change at all. So next change is to the H and S Dolphin. So I was giving a little frame data, so this example I have her doing H Dolphin to 2K, it's airtight. So normally the way they go about changing frame data is they just change the attack level. It's a pretty easy way of changing a move's frame data. But her H Dolphin was already attack level 4, so you can't really use that logic there. Before it was +5, so just showing that H Dolphin into 2K is airtight is a pretty big deal. And her 2K is 6 frames, so it's definitely a big deal. That being said, when I did H Dolphin into 5K, there was definitely a gap, so it's either +6 or +7. S Dolphin here is 0 on hit now, as you can see by this clash. Soul's 5P is 4 frames, and May's is also 4 frames, so this is pretty good for her. This means that if she hits you crouching with S Dolphin, Soul is kind of goated in this situation, but if she hits you crouching, then she is +1 in this situation now. And the last change to her beach ball, so it has a hitbox, not just the projectile, but the explosion. So you can see right here, here's the short version, the P version. So I don't know about combos, but there could be some setup or coverage potential with this, which looks pretty interesting. So it looks like she got some pretty good buffs, I'm not gonna lie. So first for Axl, I'm going to show a change that they've applied to a bunch of moves. They've done this to 5P, 2P, and jump P as well. So this is about the delay special cancel. So he could not do this type of thing before where he would just super delay. There actually, normally you would not be able to do anything. Then it's to his 5H. So his 5H now forces crouching on counter hit. I'm assuming this change is just to lead to new routes. If you're on Twitter, by the way, you've definitely seen some stuff. I feel like in the next couple of days, we'll see a lot of new combo routing from him. JK just doesn't knock you away as far. And then JD here actually launches higher. It's definitely significantly higher than it was before. And it doesn't knock you away as far. Even though it definitely looks like he got knocked away because I hit him on the ground here. I think the JD knockback when you're in the air definitely looks less than before. So for Winter Mantis, I actually don't know how they comboed it before, so I have this gangster little combo, but you could just see how you could push it a little bit more than before. And that property, it's not like there's some type of hard knockdown limit. So you can see that Soul is clearly on the ground here, but I'm able to pick him up for a little bit, and then the Axl Bomber knocks down. Snail here is supposed to have increased knockback compared to before. Maybe my memory of Durag is not very fresh, but it doesn't look that dramatic to me personally. And then Rainwater here, the implications should be obvious. Like the return here, even mid screen, because it draws you in, is much higher than before. And this is what it looks like on block. So the important thing to remember is that Rainwater is +3. So this means that Axl has another actually relevant plus move. Like it was relevant before for sure because it was plus, but you got pushed really far. So who really cares, you know? Where now he has immediate threat. All right, so are the buffs to Chipp Zanuff? Ha, 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 ha. Anyway, so first we want to look at 6H. So 6H forces crouching on normal hit now. So the immediate thing you would think of is that he gets this type of route. So he gets 6H into Sushi into Senchu. So Rokusai into Senchu. I can't help but call it Sushi, by the way, because that's what he says, but whatever. But there are some other implications of this change. So for example, one strategy that people use against Chipp quite often is trying to use crouching buttons against him because a lot of his moves have extended hurt boxes. So this gives him better return, better corner push. I don't actually know how much much is going to help because I mean he's going to be able to pull up, I guess, because I'm not actually having him pull up after recording, but I think it's a pretty big deal to deal with basically the main Chipp counterplay. So Alpha Blade launches the opponent higher with increased horizontal blowback. So I actually saw SSF do this, shouts SSF, but he gets this type of confirm now. I wonder, one, how much more he's going to get besides that. And then two, of course, like this type of thing is pretty situational, right? You may not necessarily want to switch sides like this, but I guess the main point is just to show that you can combo Alpha P Alpha Blade. Similarly, here is the Air P Alpha. I don't know if he had this before, but I just wanted to show how it hits now. So the last is Senchu, so itself. So you saw it in combos and stuff from previous changes, like I showed 6H. So this move now, my assumption is that it's 19 frames because it trades with Soul's 5k. So as far as speed, it's definitely towing the line of instant. I mean, essentially, he has an instant overhead, basically. I mean, it's not instant, but I mean, like, you're in sub 20 territory. So for Potemkin, his first two changes are to his // and to his 5H. So these are a little difficult to really show because all they really said is that they made the hitbox bigger. For // when we look through the patch notes, I remember joking. I was like, it's one of those moves. The Leo players, for example, they memed me for saying Leo's 5H was disjointed. And that's Millia brain. Like, so // is the same thing. So // I thought Potemkin's // was disjointed for a long time, just because Millia couldn't fuck with it, right? Then we have Sweep though. So his Sweep does look notably faster than before. This move actually, I remember it being pretty good in Exert. So seeing it nerfed the way it was a pretty big surprise. So then we have Heat Knuckle. So this is the one they showed on Twitter. As you can see, he gets pulled in. Frankly, if you're making reads like this, though, you do deserve it, so I definitely think this helps him a bit. The main thing is that you're able to follow up with pressure compared to before. So the fact that you can follow up with close slash is pretty good. Now, if you FD, you do get pushed back. This is kind of one of those changes that he probably wishes he had this when the game came out, because FD didn't used to have any effect on guard crush. But the main thing to note is that he's just able to continue offense even mid-screen, where generally he was only able to really be scary after Heat Knuckle in the corner. You have to consider too that Heat Knuckle's a pretty big read, so honestly, and I'm a Potemkin hater, right? I never like characters like this. Like, if they're gonna take that big of a risk and call you out, they should actually get a good situation. So then we have back Mega Fist. So now, I didn't show up Axl, but basically these moves count as retreating. So in the past, if you just did this, you would not get danger or negative penalty. It does take quite a bit though. I don't think this affects Potemkin too much. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is Kara back Mega Fist. Hopefully I did it right. It took me a while to actually hit this. I think this is definitely, at least out of the ones I practiced, from I practiced them for a little while, this is the hardest Kara, because it's kind of a weird input compared to the other ones, in my opinion. But this one is, he is moving forward. I heard this move was programmed differently than back Mega Fist, and even though you're doing back Mega Fist, he is moving forward, so I don't expect any type of negative as far as tension balance from this. So here is the new Hammerfall. So I have a very small gap here. 5H actually to Hammerfall normally is airtight, so I'm gonna block here. You can just see how it looks faster. I'm not gonna lie, I read it wrong originally, and I thought like what it said was different, because it's actually pretty difficult for most characters to break the armor. You need a specific plan to do so. Like when I was playing Axl, I was like, oh, I just can't break the armor, like I gotta just like run away or something. So what I'm thinking now is that there's probably some defensive applications or like counter applications in neutral now, because the armor activates faster. So as far as FDB, I think they only increased the startup a little bit. So the old one was 21 frame startup. Now, this is what happens now. So I think the old one, this should have traded them, because 5H attack level 4, so it's have 18 frame block stun, and it had 21 frame startup, so that should have traded. So it's only 1 frame faster than before, I want to say. So Faust. So the first one's about his air dash. So when I was playing Faust, I didn't really air dash at people, but I know on Twitter I saw people like Krakatoa being like, finally, about the air dash thing. So this one, I'm just showing it to me, an uninformed doctor. This honestly looks the same, but again, all the Faust players I've seen have commented on this and said they're pretty happy about this change. So originally, to experiment with the new 2P, because they changed the upper hurt box. If you look at the hurt box, then you can see that his body is actually pretty exposed normally. But this is another one where we just have to wait for people to extract the hitbox hurt box. 6P, they said they increased the knockback, but it doesn't look like it's that much personally. Until, that is, I did it blocking, and you can see, I think it's a little bit more obvious when you block. 5H as well, it looks like you get pushed back way further compared to before. Sweep doesn't really look like anything here, right? But on block, boom, you get pushed back quite a bit. So what is the point of these changes? In my opinion, it's about fighting dash block. So I had a period, maybe like a month or two after the October patch came out. I was starting to feel really bad about Millia. I was like, man, like, it feels like a lot of my matchups are at disadvantage and stuff like that. And that being said, I thought it was fine besides heavy characters. So I went on a mission to learn different characters to see how they do against heavies, and Faust was one of the characters. I played Faust for about like 3 weeks. And against Leo, it was just so, it was quite obnoxious, because he could just dash block into you, and there's a theme that all the characters who have like really big normals, like Faust, like Axl, those normals tend to be quite disadvantageous. And you may or may not notice, but moves like Nagoriyuki's 5H are also very disadvantageous. The only thing is that, one, they're huge, and two, they push you away really far compared to Faust. So this should help. This has already proven to be fine in other characters like Ram and Nago, so this should help Faust quite a bit. I also think it's a pretty nice way to change him, again, without buffing his items, because that's just really important to me. I don't want him to buff items. So next we have Mix. Before, this move was definitely more than 20 frames. I want to say it was 21 frames, so that would be, it would like a 3 frame gap. But well, now you can see here, The 5H is attack level 4, so that is totally airtight now. He did not have this before. And here I did sweep into mix, so I got hit out of it there. Sweeps are generally attack level 2, but Faust's sweep actually has more block stun than other characters, so seeing how the 5H was airtight and the sweep into it was not, I'm assuming it is 17 frames, so that's quite an increase in speed. So this should affect both pressure, mix-ups, it affects a lot of stuff. Probably some confirms that he didn't have as well. So last is the 100-ton. This is the clip they posted on Twitter, where you could do this now and you weren't able to do this before. I kind of mixed bag, like a mixed feeling about this, because one thing that I always thought was like definitely the sign of a very skillful Faust player is how they adjust for the various items. And I feel like they're slowly turning him into a Scarecrow bot right now, because like it's like every item he has, it's like, oh, I could do Scarecrow from full screen off it, like really cool type thing. So definitely good for him. I just think it's kind of a lame change, but it's also one that makes sense, so you can't really get upset about it. So first, I want to talk about Millia's 6K. So one is this. So it has reduced recovery. Now she could do 6K into 2K. They didn't speed it up. So in old games, this move was like 20 frames. Now I think it's like 28 frames, something like that. And it low crushes on like frame 13, pretty late compared to the old one. So my math, if it's correct, this move should be +2 on block now, because you gain an additional 3 frames of hit stun. Sorry, you gain an additional 3 frames of advantage on hit, and you get, believe you get an extra one, +1 more on crouch. So it should be +4 on crouching hit, right? So the fact that this links here, but this does not, that's 5K. So 5K is 7 frames, 2K is 6. That leads me to believe her 6K is +2. However, there's something else there that I don't remember there being. Maybe this is something I just forgot. I don't know. A lot of melee players didn't really use this move too much before. I used to use it for low crushes against certain characters like Zato or Testament. Characters that would use like 2K for mashing out in some situations. And that is, this move forces crouch on hit, and I don't remember that being there. So that means that you will get the 2K no matter what context you hit them, which is pretty important. So the best way to show the 5H change is just with this simple combo. So this definitely did not work before. 2H is still the better option, but it's just showing that you have the choice to use 5H if you want, which you normally wouldn't. I have a feeling this affects corner combos more than mid-screen confirms. Next is the 6H change. So the easiest way to show this one off is just to do close slash into 6H. There used to be a 1 frame gap there. Now there is no gap. It is faster. So that was me using Soul's 2P, so that's 5 frames. So remember that 2K has more block stun than 2P. 2P is attack level 0, 2K is attack level 1. So there's a little bit more blocks on there. So in order to trade with this attack, I would have to use a 4 frame normal, which most characters do not have. So that will make her pressure off that a little bit more scary, which is kind of nice. So this one was the biggest obvious buff. So 6K, 5H, 6H, I was like, I kind of need to see this. Like, it was implied that you'd be able to use 5H more combos. I wanted to see the effect. And I think it will have, again, a bigger effect for like some corner things in the future. Remember, Millia is a pretty nuanced character. You gotta build everything. Sorry, you gotta put everything together to see like actually how good she is. That's why I'm always like, we don't know all the time. But one of the very obvious buffs was for sweep. So I was like, if sweep is not -8, then they're trolling. And why -8? Because right now the fastest reversals are 9 frames. So we were set free. So now the big thing about that change, so there's actually 2 things. So there's the obvious one and there's the less obvious one. So let's start with the obvious one first. So the obvious one is that now against like Nago, Ram, Leo, Soul, etc., when you choose to do sweep, you're not dead. But it's not just about the 2K2D itself, because I wanted to show this specific example here, because when the opponent has meter or has a fast reversal, it restricts your mix-up, right? because you're discouraged from picking the low, because if they do the low, like a character, like, you know, if Ram has motorboat, she gets massive return, and if you do 2k, your return is way less. I mean, you get to take another turn on mix-up, but your damage return and meter return is just not even. So it's really good to not just die. There's no other way to put it. It's really good to just not die for, you know, having the gall to mix up a character. But then there's the other thing, which you might remember that last patch, they reduced the recovery on her H-Disc startup. Remember, she goes airborne when she does that. And then now they reduced the recovery of Sweet by 3 frames. So she has slightly more advantage than before, which may have an effect on how she does setups once again. So then here's ground throw. Her ground throw apparently now works the same on everybody. I don't really know what the effect of this is yet. And then here's Turbofall. So now Turbofall crosses up in the corner. So the way this works is basically once you do Turbofall, she has the corner. You can see Soul here trying to figure out where to go here, which is kind of funny. Last is the attack level increase to moves like S-Disc and H-Disc. So we had to see the effect of this so far as well. It will definitely help pressure a little bit. I mean, this is point blank, but you're not really supposed to use this move point blank. You're usually supposed to use to move from around, let's say, here. So we'll see the effect that has. When the game came out, it was actually pretty good, but then they kept nerfing S-Disc over and over. They changed how proximity guard worked and stuff too. So as far as actually using it in block strings and stuff outside meter, you didn't really use it that much. I definitely have seen people use it more since Season 2 because they buffed S-Disc in Season 2. But I'm looking forward to see what people do with this. I will say, from messing around just a little bit, the list of things I want to check with Millia is actually huge. Very, very large. So I'm kind of looking to see how everything comes together. So you'll see me on Millia a little bit more in the coming weeks. So it looks like Zato got the same change as Millia as far as 6k. You can see here that you could do 6k, 2k, 2d, just like Millia. So similarly, I'm just assuming that it's +2 now. Here is Zato's JD. So last patch, I don't believe you could do it this low. That being said, I feel like I've heard a couple of Zato players say that them speeding up the JD might mess with his mix-up, so we'll see how that ends up working. So then we have the break the law change. So if you move with up forward or up back, the only person who will move is Zato. And then if you move with 1 or 3, so down, back, or back, then the only character that will move is Eddie. So this is definitely one where I would like to see what they end up using this for, because it's definitely a new thing. And then last is the S-Word super. So they said they reduced the hurt box, but from my testing at least, I felt like it's the same. This I definitely want a Zato player to tell me personally. So first we have the 2H change. So this is what they showed on Twitter. This kind of sequence that 2H could reach here. It definitely would not reach there before. That just means the move is really, really big. You can see I can attack from pretty far. That being said though, she was already able to fight from that range. Like 2S is bigger horizontally than 2H. I think the bigger thing is just that you would get a 2H conversion where you normally would not. Then we have JD. So this one is just to show that it hits from behind now. This one I think is pretty reasonable because it really does look like she is swinging her arms around or whatever, and it did not hit that way before. To put it politely, it did not put it that way before at all. It did not look like the hit, like what you're seeing on the screen at all. So this one makes a lot of sense. And then the last change is about her Rekka. So I'm going to show you both at the same time. So one, look at the damage. Damage pretty low. And two, like she has no frame event. It's not even like, so I heard some people being like, oh, you know, like she'll be there to meet you. Like this is her real common knockdown. She just can't get there. She can't get there. So for sure in the corner, you know, she's going to be right in your face. You know, it should be pretty trivial. This is actually a very like BB-esque type change to me. Blaze Blue-esque. Like in the mid screen, you just really don't get anything, but in the corner, you're chilling. I really want to see what they end up doing with her routing there because of this. So first is 6k I want to talk about. So that's the decreased knockback and blowback distance. So that means on hit and block, it pushes you less further away than before. I was actually hopeful. You might want to check with your character if you have a move that just like punishes 6k. It's -4. But unfortunately, Baiken is kind of just in the same spot as before, where unfortunately the 5p 6k still doesn't combo in the situation, so that hope is lost. Still have to IB it or do whatever the proper counterplay is. You might be like, okay, there's a change above the 6k about certain hurt boxes, and certain hurt boxes are expanded. We have no idea. This shit is mad random. They literally just did not tell us what moves they changed, so this one we have to wait on. So there's sweep next. So the sweep change says that it launches higher. It really doesn't look that high. Not only does it not look that high, the main things that Leo players were really pumped for maybe was that the Zwite would give like a high-low again, but no. Thankfully, the world is still at peace. And then the last change is to Jötis Kattis Gestolba. I don't know why I always say it like that. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I do that. The last change is to 236S, which we call Yerst. The real name of the move is much longer. And that's another hitbox and hurtbox change. What I will say is that it definitely hits from further than before, for sure. I would like to see just how much that both the hitbox and the hurtbox have changed. But this one I think is an obvious hitbox increase. Nagoriyuki. So next is Nagoriyuki. So the first change is Nagoriyuki's defense now varies with the amount of blood gauge. So interesting to read, but let's take a look. So the way I decided to do this was just doing Baiken's B&B. So right now he just has no blood, right? Which leads into 148 damage. So not a lot of damage. I mean, this is not a super high damage combo, but it also just goes to show how much HP he has. So next, let's get that blood gauge up a little bit. So with 4 Fukios, he should be at about, he's in level 1 blood right now. So let's do the B&B again. So now he took 164, so not significantly more. I mean, honestly, it is significantly more. It's almost like, it's a good increase. It's almost 20 damage more. So next, let's get him almost all the way up. So this is blood level 2 here. So blood level 2 as in he has 2 blood gauges full and then almost at blood rage. So here he takes 184, so this is almost 40 damage, so this is quite a significant amount of damage. This is looking around like, I feel like you add around 10% per blood level full. And then just for fun, I wanted to check what happens when he's blood rage. So here too, we're going to do it the good old fashioned way. So here he took 165, so I don't think they applied this to when he pops because, you know, he loses guaranteed HP. But I do think then there'll be just way more cases of if you are really, really liberal with it early. Because I definitely have seen cases of people like around like 80% gambling with blood rage. You're going to feel it because you're going to die. Here's 2S, there's increased recovery on it. Remember that each time though he levels up, there is a little bit like it's faster. I actually don't think they reduced the recovery. I think it just gets faster. So after checking, is this correct? The recovery and active frames are the same, it's just the speed. So this is still quite a good tool. The main thing being that it's a low that's huge that you get a combo off of all the time. So it's just nice that now he can't whiff it very liberally because there's most characters you can't just whiff their 2S's like that and also get that type of return. So I don't really know what's going on with the /3rd hit. It's supposed to be reduced recovery. I was still able to run over to him and do close slash. So I feel like this is probably some niche combo thing. Nago players, you guys gotta tell me what's up. So next, of course, is going to be showing off the 5H. So you guys are all familiar with this move, of course. So here it is. So that 6P I did was definitely not possible before. Normally you would just get hit. And here I feel like you can start to see, like, if you have a low profile move, I would definitely try to check it out against 5H. And here, this is probably the last time I'll show it for this type of move, but him doing back Fukio will increase the chance of you getting danger and negative. I don't think it matters that much though, because it takes so long. Like, he's gonna pop before he even gets negative from it. But it should affect his meter gain overall though. So first is going to be the 5H wall bounce. So you can see this here. They changed 5H a couple ways. So it's both decreased blowback, so it doesn't knock you away as far here, and then it has the wall bounce. So just a simple example right there. So we saw this on Twitter, but here's the 2H launching into the Sol Puente change. So 2 changes in one combo. This should definitely help with routing. I want to see how much it can. Obviously it's off close slash, so the damage is really high as well. So here is Gio's ground throw. So honestly, this looks like a nerf because she is way closer, and now everyone's like this. So in previous patches, I mean basically since the game came out, she had a left right off this. It was character specific, but basically the idea was you would do either jump H or like faultless defense cancel into a cross up. But I will not lie to you in that I tried a bunch of ways to get the same side, and I really just can't. So versus Anji 6P, so they said that they made this bigger, so I tested it at a bunch of ranges. This is one we'll definitely have to see. I don't feel like it's as obvious as the other character, like Leo for example. However, if you're an Anji main, you might be able to see this easier than me. So definitely let me know. So here is the new launch on 5H. It's enough time to actually get a held cold. This is the one they showed on Twitter though. So the next changes, I'm going to show both at the same time. So Fujin has less horizontal blowback, so it pushes less away on hit. And then Nagila launches higher and also does not push away that much on hit. So you get examples like this, off pokes, right, where you could just attack immediately. I used 5H just to show how far you could be. And then in this example, I'm using 2K just to show that you can get there in time. So this is good. Again, he had the thing kind of like Maze 3K where sometimes you would get a poke and you just wouldn't be able to follow up. Probably the biggest change out of these is 5H though. So Enos, let's look at the dash changes. So first is dash into jump. This is to, of course, alter her air momentum, make her a little bit less committal. Notice how she's a pinch closer where she just flies and lands, for example. Being able to dash and jump also makes her less linear, which is definitely one of her biggest problems since the game came out. So she can also block out of the dash much faster than before. So here's me kind of hitting her at the startup of it, but then here is me just a little pinch late in comparison, which is really nice. So specifically, they said the timing is the same as pressing a faultless defense after jumping. So what they mean is almost every character in the game jumps in 4 frames. So after you press jump, if you press faultless defense, nothing's going to happen for a little bit until you actually get into the air. There's a 4 frame start up to the jump, and then once you are actually in the air, you can do jump stuff. So they're saying that it's the same for Ino and her dash is my assumption, which means you'd have to wait for 4 frames. Now, the other thing, too, is that she has a little bit more control over it because now when you press back or down back or up back, she will just stop. So there's an example there. So she should be able to move in a much more unpredictable fashion using her dash. And they made the same change to her air dash as well. You know that her air dash travels a little bit differently than other characters, so you're able to stop it in the same way. So next is the change to the note. They added something called a proximity requirement. So it's both bigger on hit and block, and it has this proximity requirement thing. If you don't know what that is, basically the idea is that some characters' counterplay is to swing into the note. So they just made it so that it has to reach a certain point. So before, if I swung into this at a certain spot, it would hit me earlier. But now this does not happen. It has to reach a certain point before it goes off, which helps her out a lot. So for some characters, this doesn't matter that much because they have other ways of dealing with it. Like for example, for Baiken, what I would do instead. So to show this, I think Tatami's a pretty good example because the falling hit of Tatami would clear it, but now it clears it way later than it used to. So here's a quick example. So notice how it just flew by my Tatami and hit me. So before, that would actually clash with the note. But now I either have to hit it with the stomp itself or kind of time it to fall at a certain position. So something like this. Which makes it much stronger as a projectile. Then we have stroke. So stroke specifically, that's going to be one where we would have to see it with the hitboxes because they just said that the low profile hitbox activates faster than before. So then last is the dive. So previously the move was -7 on block. Now Now I want to say it is -4, so it is far safer than it used to be. And honestly, this move is pretty hard to deal with already. So I feel like it both encourages you to use it more, falls in line with her being less linear in neutral. And I mean, this one's kind of a random buff. I know everyone was begging for 8 stroke to be the buff. I've even heard people being like, well, if she doesn't have 8 stroke, she's never going to be good again, which I think is honestly kind of a wild take. Not gonna even front with y'all on that one, because I think the changes she got is definitely helpful. That being fair though, I can understand, because I mean, I've experienced this myself, right? Millia's had this a few times already. A character getting a bunch of buffs, and then it doesn't actually change how you play at all. So that we will have to see. So first, for Goldlewis Dickinson, it is the 5k change. So this is what his 5k looks like on counter hit now. You actually get a stagger. So for a Goldlewis player, will have to tell me what is this going to do for him, but this is definitely unique in the game. I believe he's definitely the only character that has a kick normal, which means punches and kicks in Guilty Gear are considered like lights, that has this type of effect on it. That being said, since it's a light, the stagger is extremely short. Here's the bitch. So they just made it easier for it to hit from behind. The hitbox and hurtbox have both been expanded. Again, we have to just see it. And then the other thing too is, like, I already felt like JH was hitting from behind already, so I guess this one is just trying to make it easier. Now next, this is the change that we're all here for sure. So this is about Thunderbird. So now when you hit him, it goes away. Thank fucking God. This move was so scrubby. I'm sure we could all agree this is an amazing change. You love to see this happen. And then last is his other meme move, which is Burn It Down. All they did really to this is that it's more hits now. The two things more hits on a super does. So it's two things. One, it makes it better against guts, and which means it can do more damage in certain contexts. And two is that you get more burst and meter back for getting hit by it. So meter wise, okay, little crumb. So burst here, just take a look at my burst meter. So I actually got quite a bit back. I'm at a little above 50%, it feels like. But the thing is about this super is that this super actually does not break the wall. Like, it vacuums you, right? It pulls you into him. And it also doesn't break the wall here. So I'm just looking to see what will happen as far as that. So first we have Jacko. So I looked at the 2S hitting servants thing. And this is definitely an example of why I decided to do this in the first place. Because what they said compared to what you see is pretty funny. So here is the 2S. Yes, it goes mad so far. I have no idea how this is going to be applied. I just think it looks really funny. Then they made a change to Dust about the hurt box being extended and how they reduced that. This is yet again another example of we just have to see what it looks like. They fixed a servant bug that I did not know about, so that I neither knew about nor I know how to replicate. So we're going to move past that one. So then we have Throw Servant. So Throw Servant has a wall bounce effect. So when I started looking into her, I did it here, and you'll see there's not a wall bounce effect. So that was good. I was actually worried that it would not be the same as Geo's and that you could just do it whenever. They do have to be airborne. So in this example here, I launch them first, and then you get the wall bounce. The wall bounce, of course, is going to vary depending on how you set it up, right? So I used the Servant attack, so that floats you up quite high, and then I did it, so he wall bounced all the way out there. The next change is about the release servant. This one just, I think, is a quality of life type of thing, because Jacko's inputs are actually kind of quick. I always had the impression. So the way it read is that you had to like tap it or else you wouldn't get it. So it just gives a little bit more leniency, which I think is nice. So the countdown, I think, must be really advantageous now because it launches up a lot and she blocks it. I'm still able to follow up with Close Slash. So I decided to look at both characters blocking the explosion. This is, of course, with one minion, so I don't know how far this is going to go. It seems even-ish normally, so this looks like a thing that is specifically for on-hit situations. So 6k. So first, after blocking the Close Slash, there is still airtight here. So The Close Slash is attack level 3. Remember that Happy Chaos does not have attack level 4 moves, which means his normal attacks do not have 18 frame block stun basically ever. It just means that the 6K is still 16 frames or faster. So instead, I decided to check it out with his 2K. His 2K does not combo on standing hit at all. There's also a gap on block now, so if I wanted to try, for example, to block this and say jump, I'm able to block it in the air, which suggests that it's more than a 4-frame gap. It also does not combo on crouching. So in this example, I'm going to use different moves. So Soul 5K, easy. Next you go to Soul 5P, still pretty easy. 4-frame, remember I'm able to jump, so it's pretty obvious that a 4-frame normal should be able to interrupt. So if you use a 5-frame normal though, like 2P, we trade there. So there we go. So it seems to be like a 5-frame gap now. It also launches higher in combos. So this is actually the first B&B I learned. This is before, of course, Season 2 dropped. But you can see it clearly launches higher. So I feel like it just made his combos easier as a trade-off. This combo also shows 6S as well, but later in the combo. So not here. There's the multiple 6Ks. Here's 6S though. And just as a comparison, here is 6S launching, and then another 6S just to show like they do seem to be higher than before by a good amount. Here's a JD, so it pulls you in either on hit or on block, no problem. So he's in a good range right there. So then we have at the ready. So my thought was that if you did it with no concentration, he would be more plus. But then someone was like, when you do at the ready for the first time when you're going like into having no concentration, it should just means he recovers faster from the animation, because you actually cannot do 236S when you don't have concentration. So here's a peek at what that would look like. Okay, so you see the animation is really fast there, and I can't do 236S. To be honest, I didn't really think the animation was punishable. I wonder if there's some applications for this as far as combos where you just spend it all on purpose, or like, I don't know. So far, from going through his changes, I feel like he is kind of the same, plus probably has a little bit more room for development. Showing the B&B again, the next change is actually to cancel aim. So this B&B, I don't know if this is the B&B. I keep saying it's the B&B. This is just the one I was taught. But there's a point where you have to put the gun down so that you could pull out the 236S again. And that is on the close slash. So it's close slash 2H 6K 236S that I'm doing right here. So now what they did is that you could do 1H, 3H, it doesn't matter. I feel like this change will definitely be more for new Happy Chaos players and longtime people. Like, if you've been playing him, you're already just used to this and it's no problem. I do think it'll also make putting away the gun when you make a mistake or when you just want to a little bit easier in some cases. So I think that's actually a pretty nice change for him. So for Scapegoat and Curse, they both got the same change of retreating. Retreating decreases your tension balance. But I also want to low-key show another one because a couple of characters later do not have this anymore. So now he's retreating. We've shown this a bunch of times. But there's also, he does keep his restriction. So when a curse ball is on the screen, you can't throw another curse ball, unlike a couple characters we'll be talking about pretty soon. Alright, next, Biken Mama. Why do I call her Mama? Because she carries me. So to start, this one I read over initially, but once I read the testament changes in the patch notes, in the physical patch notes, right? I was like, wow. And this is the one they used to show for the Twitter clip, because they've been previewing the changes on Twitter. So essentially there's no limit on her having tatamis on the screen. So originally you could not do this. Like, as long as there was a tatami mat on screen, you could not do another one. How we're gonna end up using this remains to be seen, I think. The main outside of combo thing I was thinking is that actually her ground tatami kills all projectiles if you hit with the stomp, but the air tatami is only one hit projectile durable, so I think it'll help her protect herself a little bit more from zoning. But besides that, I don't know outside of combo application. So next is a change to Yozan-sen, where if you hit with the back of Yozan-sen, it has less knockback than before, enabling this. So she was already able to combo off this, but you just get a little bit more if you want. I feel like the bigger implication for sure is that you end up being able to combo heavies way more consistently. So as far as gun, so it seems that the standard gun stuff with like, oh, I'm spending the meter to send the explosion towards me to extend my combo, that is still there. I was actually kind of worried that that might have been changed. So the main thing is just I don't think you can low profile it as easily as before, if not at all. So not only can you not low profile it, but then also if you manage to low profile and go past it, the explosion is bigger. So I actually like this change quite a bit. I think they want to see people just use the move straight up. Right now it's pretty niche still outside of combos, and even in combos I think people weren't really using it so much. So this is a nice change. So first, for Testament, we gotta look at 2H, so it now vacuums on hit and on block. The move is -2, so that's pretty good if you block it, especially because on block, the H Fireball is +2. That being said though, the launch is different as well, so I don't know how people are going to be using it as far as this. Of course though, as usual, you do still have this, which is pretty nice. So here is the other change. So this is the fireball change about how you could have one on the screen and have another one on the screen. So for this example, and this is the Twitter example, it doesn't actually look that crazy. And the reason why I say that is, you notice when the S fireball is done, it kind of just lingers. So if you choose to do another fireball during this time, you'll see here that even though this hitbox is lingering, they could just choose to do another one if the other one goes off screen. So still very good. I think not what anyone else was thinking. I felt like people, and myself included, thought that 2 fireballs would be on the screen at the same time. I was like, how the fuck are you supposed to fight this character? Even in cases like this where I use meter to try to make sure it's there, the one fireball will disappear off the screen when I do another one. This is different than Baiken, where Baiken literally has 2 tatamis on the screen at the same time though. Just like that. Where Testament, I don't really get that impression from them. The closest thing I could think of is this. And even this still kind of has a gap, so just like that. So for the H Fireball, they reduced the knockback on it. This should lead to some new stuff for sure. So you get cases of something like this. I'm pretty sure Testament could not do this type of extension before. Finally, for Nostrovia, this move has more active frames on both the first and second hit. I'm not really sure why they did this change necessarily, but it might, emphasis on might, lead to something new. And then our last character today is Brisket. So she got the most changes. Reminder that Sinhat got no changes, and system mechanics will be a separate video once we kind of get settled in to the version after like a week or so. So she got the most changes by far out of any character. So first is about 2P. So 2P, I said the lower hitbox and hurtbox have both been expanded. This is just another one of we just need to see what they do to it. So the first one we're going to see is actually 6P. So 6P now launches where it did not before. So on normal hit, she was kind of screwed if she hit you grounded with this, where now she knocks you away. It is no different when you're crouching as well, and they made sure to note that. Her command normals, so the follow-up on this and this, they similarly said they expanded the lower hitbox and hurtbox. I'm not sure why, maybe outside of combos, because you could only do this when these connect. Next we have stop and dash, so that's the projectile. So one, it looks way faster. It looks like definitely instant speed. I already thought it was decently fast before. Now it's fast, but the implication of it being faster is definitely that it might be less advantageous from a distance, which might be not a good thing. But I also have the proximity requirement thing on this projectile. I don't really know of characters that use a tactic of, oh, let's swing into the yo-yo so it activates faster, but it's also moving faster, so I feel like that basically works the same. That being said though, it does look like it has reduced recovery as well. So then we have rolling movement. So first, it doesn't push you away as much. You fall faster, it seems, on both hit and block. So this one's a little hard to show, but when activated, when the yo-yo is returning to Bridget, she is going to go where the yo-yo was. I think this sounded like a niche case where Bridget probably just like would freak out or not go anywhere when this happened. So that definitely sounds like a quality of life. Correct me if I'm wrong though. There was a movement bug with this movement as well. And the last one is about when she got counter hit. So apparently before you could counter hit her after the active frames were over. From my testing, I also think this is kind of a quality of life change because she's basically active as long as she's flying through the air. So I feel like this is probably like another kind of niche case thing. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Her DP got a bug fix, so not really going to touch on that. So Kickstart My Heart also got a proximity requirement. So I was actually told the first time we saw the Eno thing is that this already existed on some moves. So for example, how Millia Bad Moon never hits cross up, or Chipp's Alpha Blade has to hit a certain way, Geo's Sweep has to be a certain way. They even said for Baiken that there's this type of property where even if you see her advancing, it will only do so much, and there are times where you can literally see the sword hitting them and it not hitting, which I mean, I thought that was like a typical hitbox hurtbox thing that just existed in fighting games, but they said that's a special thing. So now Bridget has that on her Kickstart My Heart. So Break has a couple of changes. They said they expanded the upper hurt box. This is a little bit hard to show. I feel like this is also something for combos as well. It launches less with a little bit less horizontal blowback. Something like this. And there's also a little tumble on it as well. So simple example, of course, because I don't play her, but just showing that the tumble enables a little bit more comboing, a little more combo potential in the corner. In mid-screen, you get tumbled away, so I couldn't immediately find a way to combo off it with no meter. And then Bridget also got the change here that this is more hits. It's 7 hits now. I don't remember how many hits it was before. So again, remember, like Goldlewis, you know, you're getting more meter and burst, but it doesn't seem like so much. For Goldlewis level 3, break it down or burn it down, I believe was like 18 hits. I also thought Bridget would get like the Calvados thing off this super, but it doesn't really feel like you can, nor do you have enough time to, or maybe I'm doing it wrong. But yeah, those are all the patch note changes for characters. Remember, Sin doesn't have any changes because they said he came out too soon. Again, I do want to look at the system mechanic changes and just how they affect the characters a little bit later, because while these character changes were interesting, they do not tell the entire story. There were significant system changes as well. But I just also wanted to show y'all what the changes looked like for everybody and just my initial impressions. So let me know how you guys feel. As usual, if you guys have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.